Hi, this is Sheryl Mays with the Authors Lounge on DreamSpire TV. And I am so excited today to bring to you an author that is going to share their inspiration. He's going to share his motive behind the book. And you're actually going to get to hear the story behind the story, because we know that's where all the juice is. So don't go anywhere, stay tuned. And when we return, you will hear from Lee Taylor, the author of Tonesha-Up From the Depths. Hi, Lee, how are you?
I am wonderful today.
Awesome. So now it has to be sunny where you are because it's just a beautiful day. So I know that because you're not out on your bike, that it's got to be just a beautiful, beautiful day where you are.
Of course, I'm not on the bike, so it's beautiful outside, and I'm in the house doing this.
There you go. It happens like that sometimes, but when
yes, it does.
You can get back on the bike.
No.
Well, first, let me do an introduction because I want to first say thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
In the Air Force, and you have served our country, and so I definitely want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And the other side to that is, and I didn't realize this until I read your bio, that you are the father of 10.
10. Yes.
Which is probably why you ride your bike a lot.
Get away, don't make any more, don't even contribute to the human population anymore.
And now you're retired.
Yes, I am. It took 50 years to get here.
So Lee, tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing now because you are retired, and then we'll talk about Tonesha.
Okay, I am 33 years with the VA Medical Center. Of course, I was in the Air Force, bounced around all over the country for a little bit. And I didn't do any traveling while I was in the service. All of that happened after I got out. Mm-hmm. So I lived in Atlanta, I lived in Houston, Cleveland, loved New Orleans. I was all over the place. And I just saw life. And after 33 years and picking up so many children, do you need any? I'd be happy to give some away. And here we are. I just stay busy writing, enjoying my retirement, going out, cooking, barbecuing, experimenting with my barbecue sauces and different things like that, and getting fat.
There you go. So you make barbecue sauce?
Oh yes, the best in the world. I'll say that, but that's not necessarily true. But I enjoy barbecue sauce. It came from my best friend and I burning up a friend, and then we had to take some of our medicine, and that's where the barbecue sauce came from.
Wow. You know, it's amazing how things just happen to appear out of nothing.
Nothing.
You know, you're going to do one thing, and then the next thing you know, this thing happens, and you're like, how did we stumble across this?
Yes. And my best friend will, whenever I go home to Dayton, I will cook, and he will. It's something I've done since we were kids, and when his mom passed, and it was a terrible time, and I cooked. And years later, people were, where'd you get that barbecue from? Where'd that come from? And it was an honor to make it for her passing, homecoming, we'll say. and everybody loved it. So it was something that keep the tradition going.
Okay, there you go. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, because I once I found out about Tonesha and the fact that this is not only one book, but this is the second of a series.
Yes.
I definitely wanted to talk with you. So, hey, listen, guys, do not go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to get into this book and tell you all about Tonesha and how she rose up from the depths and what happens to her next. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this commercial. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming back. Now, we are so excited, Lee, because now we're going to dive into the book.
Okay.
So you have to tell us about Tonesha, because she has an interesting story as to how she even was developed.
Tonesha was developed from experience I had during my job at the VA. I was coming up the road, and I was in a rough part of Cleveland, and there was a young lady running to the truck, and I stopped. There were several murders going on in the area, and she was in trouble. And she jumped up into the truck, and you okay? And she's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. So, what are you doing here? She said, I just wanted to get warm. Well, you can't sit in here with me. I'm not going to lose my job. And we talked for a little bit, and her name was Dee, and Dee was this gregarious woman that was full of life, but she was a streetwalker. And whenever I would see her and the weather got warmer, she would just wave to me because she knew I was driving the truck going by, and she remembered that day. And I saw the heart of this woman. So I wrote my first book after my father's passing, and this incident stayed with me. And something that my mother said to my father when I was a child, and she said they were having a disagreement. It wasn't an argument, it was a disagreement. And my mother said she would prostitute to make sure her children were fed. And there's 3 of us. And I didn't understand what prostitute meant. And as I got older, you'd see prostitutes walking the streets, wondering what kind of men they run into. And to know a few women that were into that kind of life, that's a rough life. Mm. One of my friends had read Echoes, and she was disturbed with the female character. And she said, I wanted to see a strong woman that could walk away from a man. And I'm angry because you don't talk about my characters like that. And I saw the character in Echoes as being a strong woman, but not, she wasn't weak. She just wanted her man, the man she wanted in her life. Mm-hmm. So my mother's comment, Dee, and the things that one of my first girlfriends went through, she was assaulted, sexually assaulted, while we were in high school. She was younger than I was, and the person that assaulted her, we were right outside when it happened, and she never said anything about it. And she was assaulted twice. And if you know Carla, she's just full of life, but there's another side of her that suffers because of what she's been through. And Tonesha was formed from that, something that a lot of women endure, not just Black women, but women all over the world suffer from this. And I didn't realize until I started doing research on Tonesha or rapes in America. Mm-hmm. And women have it rough from the aggressiveness of men. Mm-hmm. And to be out there on the streets in the cold and dealing with, you would think that men that go to a prostitute go to them for a reason because they can't deal with normal women. Mm-hmm. Some of the stories that I've heard from some of my friends that were out there, there's some sick people out there. And how strong is that? That you would, my mother saying she would go out there to prostitute to do that, to make sure her children were fed. That's a strong woman. And that's where Tonesha comes from.
Absolutely. Now, in this, two things. Number one, you mentioned Echoes. So mm-hmm. Echoes is a prior book.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's your first book. Is that the first book that you've ever written?
That was the first book I ever written. It was written after my father had passed in 2001. And I couldn't get home in time. He died before I got there. And I didn't get to say goodbye. Stayed with me. And I wanted to let him know how much I loved him. And Echoes was about what you love. And I didn't want it to be about a man and between two men, a father and a son. I wanted it to be what you call love. So I knew how much I loved my father. So I used experiences that we younger people go through in having relationships and how we destroy them sometimes. And in Echoes, I used a previous relationship as a template, but remembering what love is for me. And it doesn't mean that somebody loves you. It's what you feel for love. Mm-hmm. And that's where the story came from. And it was, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, it's so interesting because the writings come from your personal experiences.
True. And the experiences, for me to be the writer, I don't want to be the center of the attention. I want to be outside looking in. Mm-hmm. And even though the main character, I was speaking for the main character, I wasn't the main character. I don't dance. I don't do some of the things he does. Tall, handsome, everything like that. Money coming out of his pockets. Not that rich, but well-to-do. And he's a different person. He's a go-getter. And the woman that he loves in the book was the woman that I love. And we separated under not the best of reasons. Mm-hmm. And after my father passed, and I hadn't spoken to her for 15 years because I was angry. All right, when it happened. And I swore I'd never talk to her. Mm-hmm. And after my father died, I realized how short life is. Mm-hmm. So we had a conversation, and during the conversation, she said something I didn't like, and I went off. I hung up the phone, F you, and everything like that. And I said I'll never speak to her again. And I was mad, and I was cursing, and I was telling God I'll never forgive her. And then God said something to me, and he said, if you can't forgive, why should I forgive you? Oh, whoa. Do I want to go to hell because I'm upset?
And
I ended up talking to her. And he covered a lot of territory. Mm-hmm. And the relationship was based on our interactions. And I thought I was over everything. And I wasn't. And for 15 years, and in the book, Theo is angry half as long as I was in life. And I realized how far I had gone off in my righteousness. And that's where Echoes came from, because it was the loss of my father and what you lose in life. And it put things on track for me to be in this life today. So that's where Echoes came from. And after I started Echoes, Tonesha popped up. And characters from Echoes end up in Tonesha because of a connection, and it just took off from there. And Tonesha is by herself, but they're connected because of one of the characters in Echoes hooks up with Tonesha, and boom, it just, the story just takes off from there, and it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. So then it sounds like in order to get the best of the book, you literally need to get all of them because of the connection. To understand everything, what I try to do is make the book stand alone. If you happen to pick up the last book, you're not left out, but to get a little deeper into the story, you would want to read. And this comes from all the years of reading comic books. You know, you could pick up a episode of Spider-Man or Superman and you're not lost. You know what they're doing. You want to know how they got there, how they get to that point. But Tonesha starts off, she's a story all by herself, but to understand how the characters operate in Tonesha, you might want to look up Echoes, and that's something that I'm doing. I'm redoing Echoes, bringing it up to date, because that was 13 years ago when I wrote it, and it's out of print. So I'm updating it and changing minor things and bringing it up to speed and connecting it into Tonesha in little quirks here and there. Okay. So guys, here you have it. Tonesha is one of those individuals that is, I would like to meet her just because of her strength. And you know, you never know what people are going through until you hear their story. You know, it's like you can look at a person and you can make all kinds of assumptions because of what they're doing and what you see, but until you literally hear from that individual the whys, you know, then you have the ability to go, okay, I kind of understand a little bit more. So we're going to get more into this story right after this commercial. So listen, you got to come back because I know you want to hear about it and hear where it's available. So right after this commercial, we'll come back with Lee Taylor, the author of Tonesha-Up From the Depths. Thanks for rejoining us. Again, I am so excited to be here with Lee Taylor, the author of Tonesha-Up From the Depths. This book is available on Amazon. And now here's the thing, because Tonesha has another book. And the name of the other book is? Into the Light. Tonesha Into the Light. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. But... Yes, we can. Tonesha Into the Light. Now tell us a little bit about this one. This is a continuation of Tonesha, and I don't want to give away too much because as you get into the first part of Tonesha, the first book, she's struggling with her life and how this police officer, the police officer is based on one of my best friends. He's a Dayton police officer, detective. Salt of the earth kind of person, just wants to come and help you for everything you're worth. And he doesn't give up on people. And Daryl Smith, police officer from Dayton, going to give him a shout out. good man, and he's Tom in the story. And Tom has lost his daughter, and he sees something in Tonesha that makes him want to help her. And this is something that I see in Daryl that makes Tonesha, she doesn't want to challenge Tom because not only is he a good man, he's also a killer. He's a police officer. If he's got to deal with you, he'll deal with you. And on the street, know about him, and they don't mess with him. So that comes up later on in book 2 as to the background of Tom. And this book is a roller coaster of a ride to me. And Tonesha is one of my favorite characters. I know I'm partial Theo and Echoes, but Tonesha is such a draw for me. And I can't let this woman go. She just, one minute you want to choke her to death, and the next you want to hug her. And she just aggravates the crap out of me because she's really something. She's based on another friend of mine that she would give me her last $1 and then she'd come back and ask for 10 more. So
I think we all have friends like that sometimes.
Yeah, oh my goodness. But I told this friend, this is Pat Tony, who is a part of Tonesha. She's the street part of her. And she bleached a friend of mine's car because he did something trivial, and I told her, if you had done that to me, they'd be looking for you. You'd be on a milk carton somewhere, because she just, and my friend loved her to death, and they just cat and mouse all the time. And they were Tom and Jerry, but he loved her to death, loved her son, and they just, she's Tonesha, she just, oh, drama you wouldn't believe, and it was just nonstop, and that's Tonesha. And then there's the part of Carla to where she would just go, just, this woman is amazing. She's just amazing to me, and I can't believe I did her. I created this person that want to know more about her, and I have a ball with her. And I've been reading for this interview, and I'm in book 2, and I'm like, oh, I'm enjoying this book, and I've read it 1,000,000 times. So.
You know, this is a question that I have, because what you said is so interesting about how the character has literally intrigued you, and you've created this character. And I think for individuals that are watching this, either you're an author or you're a book lover, but it's interesting how you develop a character and you literally are so connected to this individual that it just, you know, she's in your head or he's in your head, and you find that you're continuously trying to develop them even more. And so they carry on and carry on. Guys, you got to get this book. So Lee, tell us, where are these books available?
These books are available on Amazon. If you don't want to spend the big bucks to get it, you can get the Fire, what is it?
The Kindle?
Kindle.
Okay.
And it'll only cost you $3 on Kindle. And I did this for my niece's book club. And she had 9 members, and as soon as the 9 members got the book, all of a sudden they jumped to 28. And my niece was, oh, they're all coming back. They're all coming back. And we were reading the book, and I went to the book club, and they knew I was the author because they did my first book. And for 3 years, they hadn't heard from me, and then they wanted to read Tonesha. And the response just blew me away. I couldn't believe, you do something with your own mind to character, and people get into something that you created, and it does something to you. It's like, you can't get into a character like that. This is my head that you're in, but the character is in my head, comes out, walks into life, and they're like, I want to meet Tonesha. And it was, so I brought Carla along because she was the prototype for Tonesha. And they loved her strength, her character, what she's been through in life. And the women that have been assaulted in life connected with her in such a way through the book to her. And I want women to know that they are amazing. Women are so amazing in what they do in life and dealing with life itself. And women are so much stronger than men. We're just go out and kill something and we're done with it. But women create life and they make something out of nothing. And I worship women.
Well, I think that's a great testament. And on behalf of all the women in the world, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being a woman.
Oh my goodness. You know, you some of the questions that I asked you, you talked about your craziness. And I think we can see that in the characters. And I just want to say, if you want to be a friend of Lee Taylor's, be careful because you might end up being in one of the stories.
Oh, yes.
Obviously, he gets his best material from his friends. So, Lee, I have to ask you, if you were to have dinner, lunch with any author, who would you choose and why?
I would, that's a hard question. There's two people I'd love to sit down and talk to. One would be John Carpenter, The Fog, The Thing. They Live. The Thing was one of the greatest science fiction movies I've ever seen. And I wanted to know what motivated him to create this movie. And I know he based it on a book from 1952, I think it was, Who Goes There? And he and Stephen King, I would love to get into it. I try to emulate John Carpenter with Tonesha, with some of the little nuances that she does in the book. And if you don't catch it, you'll miss it. And it was something that I did with Echoes. I would ask people, did they catch a certain part? And they're like, no. And I'm like, go back and look. And when they go back and look, they say, oh, that changes the whole story. Yes, if you miss a clue, you miss a lot. And that's something that we do in life. We miss little clues.
True.
Behind the scenes that we don't pay attention to. And we miss the whole story. And that's what I do with these stories. There's things that we miss. And those two authors just do it for me. They take something and you miss it. And here I am 30 years, 40 years later from The Thing, and I'm still discovering things that I missed from the first time I saw it. And I'd like to know how he did that.
There you go. And you know, it's so interesting when you think about those individuals that have gone on. If you did have that 5 minutes just to, to say how, why, tell me one good thing, that you would like to pass on. It's very, very interesting. So I have one final question for you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What's next? I'm working on book 3 of Tonesha. And
wow. See, I knew there was going to be another book.
Oh, yes. I couldn't let her go.
One of your friends.
She's... And
spoiler alert, there's a book 3 coming out, guys, so get ready.
I don't know. It's book 3 is out there. The craziness comes in book 3. And actually what happens in Tonesha is something that happened to me. What happens to her in the church actually happened to me. And I'm a scientist. I'm one of those, if I don't see it, you can't, it doesn't exist. But the wind blows and we don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you say God doesn't exist? Because you don't see it, but the wind takes leaves off the trees, pulls houses up out of the foundations, And you don't see that. You don't see it when it happens. It just comes in and whoosh, it's gone. So that's something that, for me, what happens in these books, some of it has happened to me. Mm-hmm. Mix it, match it, and put it in with Carla and with Pat and other people that I know, and boom, here they are. And
well, I'll tell you, we're excited. I'm excited. I know you guys are interested in going to Amazon and finding Echoes, Tonesha 1 and Tonesha 2. And you just heard it. There's going to be a third one. So we're definitely hoping. Stay on the lookout. You got more friends. I know there's going to be a third one.
Oh, Tonesha, she's giving me fits right now.
Well, Lee, I'll tell you, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming onto the Authors Lounge and sharing with us, Tonesha, your experiences. We look forward to what happens after this and to what you're going to come with in that third book and that fourth one, and who knows where Tonesha is going to end up or how she's going to develop. So
we're wondering. Yes, ma'am.
And Lee, when she gets that third book, I want you to come back and visit us.
I'm on my way right now.
Before we leave, is there any parting words that you would like to share with the readers?
If you get this book and enjoy it, feel free to get in contact with me. I love hearing from people that get into the characters and their experiences and tell me what you think, and enjoy life. Go out there and have fun. Don't let anything stop you from enjoying your life.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. It has been
a pleasure
talking with you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey guys, you heard it here on the Authors Lounge. Lee Taylor, the author of Tonesha-Up From the Depths, book 1. The book prior to this is Echoes, and then the book 2 is Tonesha Into the Light. So you can get the collection. It's on Amazon. Definitely go to Amazon, look for Lee Taylor, get the book, and then come back and join us. We have an author that is interested in sharing their experiences, their motivation, and their story behind the true story. And we have an opportunity to share it with you, which is what we want to do here on the Authors Lane, the Authors Lounge. So have an amazing day, and definitely come back and check us out.